The Brian Mudd Show is on Newsradio 610 WIOD.
Somebody has provided some comedic relief over the course of time. Actually thinking about becoming governor of the second largest state. So you have our friend Rania Mankarious, who's the host of the Balanced Voice podcast from Crime Stoppers. Had an interesting guest recently on the Balanced Voice podcast. Rania, so you had Matthew McConaughey. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. We were thrilled to have him on. He's a fellow Texan and somebody we really admire. We think he personifies the spirit of the state. So we were very, very happy.
And it's interesting where you ended up getting him to go. So you ended up talking a little bit about what the future holds for him. And so he may mention he could be interested in becoming a future governor, huh?
Yeah, and it actually was not the point of the conversation at all. We were there to discuss his new book, Green Lights, and our common mission between his foundation, Just Keep Living, and ours at Crime Stoppers of Houston, his message for the community and his message for children. And at just one point, he said, I have to think about my leadership and this next chapter of my life. And I paused. I said, well, this is obviously a huge statement. But I said, Matthew, don't answer, don't comment. I'll just throw it out there. If you should ever think of running for governor of the great state of Texas, we'd be so happy for you. But I said, don't comment, don't answer. But he was so gracious, and he said, no, it's a true consideration. And I moved on because the point of the conversation wasn't political. But that soundbite is what got picked up locally, nationally, and internationally, and it certainly raised eyebrows.
It's interesting for sure. So it wasn't So it's definitely something that's front and center in his mind. And I'm guessing, some of the recent issues that you went through with, the winter storms, that might have factored in some of his thinking here.
If you've listened to Matthew, he's been asked this a lot, and he's been very thoughtful in his answer. And just this morning, he was with Al Roker on the Today Show and talked about what an honorable thing it is to serve in that way. But he also said he's not sure if he's more useful as a free agent, and it really might be that that's what he's leaning towards. I just gather that Matthew McConaughey has a heart to serve, and that will be true service, whatever it looks like, wherever it's needed. Camera lights or no camera lights, headlines or no headlines, and that's what he's going to do. At least that's what I gather, and I'm very, very excited to see what things and how things unfold, as he continues doing such great work.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's really interesting. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with law enforcement. It always is sad to me to see, the dangers, the risk in society, and then how, more recently we've had so many elements in our society kind of working against law enforcement, always holding up the negative examples. And, seldom do the heroic acts that are too numerous to even mention daily across this country, do they even get recognized. But one thing that I do as part of a series, I take a look at those that have fallen in the line of duty. And it's alarming what's happened here. We are seeing already that line of duty deaths in the United States 172% above where we were last year, which was one of the deadliest, if not the deadliest, on record. For those that put on the badge every day, for those that are going out there serving our communities, how important is it at this moment in time that we're supportive of them and there for them?
I think it's critically important, and I think police chiefs across America also have a very difficult job while they fight through political climates, while they fight through potential cuts to their budgets, while they fight through trying to motivate and encourage their teams and their police agencies. So I think of the officers and I think of their leaders and their police chiefs. I think Houston has an incredible leader in Chief Art Acevedo. We were very proud that our mayor chose to increase the funding to our police department last year by 13% instead of cut it. But we talk about this all the time. We encourage people to remember that historically we would see law enforcement as community heroes. And there isn't a profession in this world that doesn't have people that behave incorrectly, inappropriately, that blur the lines that make wrong decisions. We see it politically every day. We see it with doctors. We see it with pilots. We see it with teachers. And we see it with police officers. But this notion of blaming the entire force, the very inherent notion of seeing crime versus public safety or good versus evil, as saying that, those are not distinctions we should be making anymore, and law enforcement, they're just bad all around. I think that's a very dangerous sentiment. And a lot of those cities who really fought to rid themselves of law enforcement presence, not even a year later, are crying over their incredible and outrageous spikes of crime.
Rania Mankarious, the host of the Balanced Voice podcast with Crime Stoppers. Always a pleasure talking with you.